the incident itself seemed to be very quick.
A state lawmaker shares a first-hand account of an officer-involved shooting that shut down a busy Madison street. We are following a breaking story out of Willie Street tonight. Police are blocking off a section of William Street tonight. News 3 has learned there were reports of shots fired in the 1100 block there. The road is blocked between Few and Ingersoll.
News 3's Valina Jones is live at the scene, and she joins us with the very latest developments. Valina?
That's right, Eric and Michelle. Those shots fired were reported around 6:30. Witnesses here tell me that they believe a 19-year-old black unarmed man was shot by an officer right here on Willie Street. The crowd has been growing over the past couple of hours. Members from the Young Black and Gifted Coalition are forming a line out here demanding justice. The crowd, though the shooting happened several hours ago, police here on scene have not spoken to the public. Right now, again, the scene is still very active. There's over 10 police squad cars. The Wisconsin Professional Police Association posted that its field and legal staff are on scene investigating an officer-involved shooting here in Madison. Representative Chris Taylor was across the street at the Spirit gas station from where the shooting allegedly occurred.
Obviously, we've had our share of tragedies in this community. So, you know, it's a scary thing, obviously, when you're in a situation like that, which I never expected to be in tonight, I have to say.
Within the last hour, Mayor Soglin has arrived on scene talking to members of the public, but he, too, is waiting for answers.
Well, it's an enormous tragedy. The life of a young man is of the greatest concern. We've got a family that's really hurting, and a neighborhood. Right now, it's very difficult because of the nature of the investigative process. I can't even get any information from the Madison Police Department because they're not allowed under the new laws to conduct the investigation.
And again, over the past couple of hours, the crowd here on Willie Street has grown tremendously. What started out as just a couple people has now grown into well over 20 and 30 people. Again, a lot of representation here from the Young Black and Gifted Coalition. They've been chanting throughout the evening that Black Lives Matter. Again, they believe that a 19-year-old black unarmed man was shot by a police officer. We're still waiting to get confirmed information from the police department at this time, Eric and Michelle.
All right, Valina, this obviously a very developing situation. We know, as you mentioned, the Young Gifted and Black Coalition is there. We can hear them chanting. Does it seem like it is still peaceful at this time? And, you know, can you describe what the crowd is like out there?
Right now it is peaceful, Michelle. Again, they've been chanting, but a lot of emotions out here. They're very passionate. They have been demanding justice right now. They said that this is something that they feared might happen in the city of Madison. And so right now the protest is peaceful, but they said they're going to be speaking up going forward.
I know we're moments away from possibly hearing from the chief down at the City County building. Valina, you spoke to Chris Taylor, who coincidentally helped pass legislation last year. Let's go down to the City County building right now because we understand we can hear from Chief Mike Cobalt.
Complainants as jumping in and out of traffic, dodging cars and the like. And subsequently, before we arrived, the call was updated by another complainant who had indicated that this same subject had been responsible for a battery that had been recently committed. Upon arrival, the officer, the first responding unit, was called to the apartment where the subject had gone into. He heard sounds of what sounded like a disturbance coming from within the home, and it was at that juncture that he forced entry. Once inside the home, the subject involved in this incident, the same one that had been allegedly out in traffic and had battered someone, this same subject then assaulted my officer, and in the context of mutual combat in that sense, the officer did draw his revolver and subsequently shot the subject. Immediately thereafter, the officer began immediately to render aid by providing CPR and was subsequently joined by backups who also carried on that struggle. Subject was subsequently conveyed to a local area hospital where he did succumb to his gunshot wounds and is deceased. Obviously, at this point in time, it wouldn't be inappropriate for the police department to take on the purview of the role of the medical examiner, who has the duty of notifying next of kin in a matter like this. Obviously, in light of the fact that we are completely bound by state law, which indicates that an independent oversight and investigation should be conducted outside of the Madison Police Department. We respected that from the moment we took the scene, froze the scene, and waited for the Department of Criminal Investigation to arrive. The Department of Criminal Investigation is the point of investigation. This is completely their oversight. We will only supplement their needs as they request it, and certainly we will not have any sense of an instrumental role in this. In light of so much things that have happened, not just across this country, but in our own community, it's understandable that the reaction at the scene amidst some of our citizens is extremely volatile, emotional, and upsetting, and we understand that. That's absolutely appropriate under the circumstances. We would urge, obviously, that everybody exercise restraint and some calm, and let us allow the Department of Criminal Investigation to conduct their affairs, and we will all await then that what their investigative fact findings should reflect. Witnesses have been contacted. They will be subsequently interviewed by DCI, and I suspect that DCI will also do canvassing of neighbors and others who may have seen part or parts of the incident. And that's pretty much the sum total of what I can provide you now, given the fact that it is in the hands of DCI, and I do not want to usurp their authority.
As far as what happened with your officer, can you say anything about any weapons used by the subject or anything like that?
At this point, it is unknown what, if anything, he had in terms of instrumentalities. The initial findings at the scene did not reflect a gun or anything of that nature that would have been used by the subject. No.
Did your officer sustain any injuries?
Well, he was knocked down as a result of the blow to his head, but beyond that, he will be treated and ultimately released.
So he's at a hospital right now?
He is, yes.
Standard procedure?
Well, standard procedure insofar as part of the protocols, obviously, is that there will be a blood draw administered at the direction of DCI, and at that point, at some point, obviously, that will be all obviously analyzed to ensure that absolute sobriety and no drugs in the officer's bloodstream.
Go ahead. Can you say anything about age, race of the subject?
It appears he's a young African-American male of 19 years of age.
How many times was he shot?
I couldn't say that at this point because I don't know.
You said the situation was volatile, and understandably so. As the chief and overseeing, obviously looking out for your officer, are you worried about the response interfering with the investigation in any way?
No, I believe at the end of the day we will have a secure crime scene, and I think as people come to realize that it's not the Madison Police Department's investigation, it's the Department of Criminal Investigation, and to that extent I hope that people will understand and give them plenty of room to work with as much opportunity for them to move freely and about without them being subjected to, anything else or harassment.
I see that you were meeting with Michael Johnson with Boys and Girls Club. I don't know if he wants to answer any questions or if you can talk about, what your discussion with him entailed.
Well, I'll let Michael speak for himself, but I will say that going back to when I first became chief, Michael has been a friend and a confidant, and he understands the pain that communities can endure all too well, having done a lot of work in urban settings and was on the front lines of Ferguson. So in his capacity at mending fences, creating truss bridges. He's been a resource to me as a community stakeholder, and I hope will be in the future. So let you figure out what.
That is Madison Chief of Police Mike Koval talking to reporters down at the City County building tonight, recapping what happened. This is in the 1100 block of Williamson Street earlier this evening. As Mike Koval recounted the story, a gentleman, 19 years of old, African-American male, jumping in and out of traffic, according to the chief, then went into a residence there. Officers responded to the scene. They also said that this gentleman had been involved in a battery. After the officer forced entry into that residence in the 1100 block of Willie Street, a fight between the officer and the subject ensued. The officer struck in the head, according to the chief, knocked down, pulled his weapon, fired, and hit the subject, who later was pronounced dead at an area hospital.
And what we know now, we know that the Department of Criminal Investigation will take over this investigation. The Madison Police Department will be assisting them, but the Department of Criminal Investigation will have oversight of this investigation because of a new law that was recently passed within the last year. But as Chief Koval said, this is extremely emotional, volatile, and upsetting for the community, and he's asking people to exercise restraint and caution down in Willie Street, and that is where we pick up now with Valina Jones, who has been reporting the story since it started from the beginning tonight. And Valina, can you give us another recap of what you are seeing down there with the crowds and with the investigation?
Yeah, definitely, Michelle. Again, the crowd is continuing to grow here on Willie Street. The Young Black and Gifted Coalition representation have made a call out to the public to come down here and support them. They've been chanting Black Lives Matter throughout the night. The crowd has grown considerably since those reported shots were heard at 6:30. Since then, the crowd has grown about 30 to 40 people right now, Michelle. Again, they are demanding justice for, again, the 19-year-old that was shot here on Willie Street.
Earlier, Valina, this evening you spoke with Representative Chris Taylor. We heard from her a moment ago. She helped pass legislation last year that basically controls investigations into officer-involved shootings, which the DCI is now in charge. Recount for us, if you can, what Representative Taylor told you as she got to the scene, because not only was she involved in this legislation, she's a representative for that neighborhood, and she was an eyewitness, correct?
Yeah, definitely. And so when we talked to Mayor Soglin again, he said, you know, with that pass of the legislation, it's been hard to get information because now the Department of Corrections needs to come in here and investigate that situation. So until we had heard from Chief Koval, there was little information known at this time. And so now that that information has been verified, again, this crowd continues to grow out here on Willie Street. Eric.
Valina, I'm not sure if you and your photographer can maybe show us a vantage point of this scene there, but I'd like to know if police are able to interact with the crowd or if they are choosing to do so at this time, but if maybe we can get a better look at the crowd there.
Yeah, police have not really been involved with the crowd so far, but as the time has passed, the crowd has really kind of tried to push into the perimeter of where police have this investigation blocked off right now. And so as time progresses, they're getting closer and closer to those barricades. And police right now are making a line formation to make sure that these people out here that are demanding justice do not cross that barricade right now. So far, it has been peaceful, but again, a lot of emotions down here, and so the scene so far is safe, but it continues to grow as time progresses.
And as we heard, Chief Mike Koval urging calm and peace tonight as the DCI moves in to do their part of the investigation. Valina Jones live on Williamson Street. Valina, thank you very much.
And of course, stay with News 3 and Channel3000.com. As we continue to follow this breaking story, we will also continue to bring coverage of this throughout this newscast. We'll be right back.
Recapping our top story tonight from the 1100 block of Williamson Street on Madison's Near East Side. Madison Police Chief Mike Koval confirming that police shot and killed a 19-year-old African-American male in that 1100 block of Williamson Street tonight after an altercation between the officer and the individual who was shot. Protesters now at the scene there, and a calm scene so far. Chief Koval urging calm, as did the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County, Michael Johnson.
I'm concerned about the young man and his family. I'm concerned about all of our kids in this community. And I do think people, people have the right to be emotional when these kinds of incidents happen. And when a young man loses life and you begin to continue to see these kind of issues play out, there will be an emotional response. And so I just hope that calmer heads prevail and that people listen to one another. And that's what I'm hoping that's going to happen.
Again, that was Michael Johnson, the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club, asking for calm tonight, along with Police Chief Mike Koval. But again, you are taking a live look now at the scene on Willie Street, where a crowd is growing after an officer-involved shooting where a 19-year-old is dead tonight. And
due to new state law, the Department of Criminal Investigations will now handle all aspects of this officer-involved shooting. Of course, News 3 will stay with it for the very latest with the crew at the scene. And we'll bring you the very latest as developments continue to emerge in this story.
We've had a lot of eyewitness accounts tonight. We've heard from Representative Chris Taylor. We've heard from the Chief of Police and also from the Boys and Girls CEO, Michael Johnson. Of course, we will stay on this story, and you can follow us on channel3000.com. Good night.